The 34th Dems. This is our pre-meeting program. We have a really exciting program for you this evening, about to begin. Our great friend Kenny, who has organized this. So very excited about that. We have 4 panelists that are going to introduce themselves, but I'll just let you know their names. Emily Gadja, Ben Trong, Devin Hermanson, and Lori Reinhardt. And you will learn all kinds of great things about them here in just a minute. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our one. Erica is an award-winning Seattle journalist with decades of experience covering local news and politics. She is the author of the memoir Quitter, a memoir of drinking, relapse, and recovery. Her work has been published in local and national publications, including Seattle Magazine, Huffington Post, Sightline, Grist, and many others, as well as at her own website, PubliCola, which most of you, all of you, I hope know about. Yay! Launched in 2009, PubliCola provides in-depth coverage about the city of Seattle, holding public officials accountable through investigative reporting and analysis. And if you ever listen to Seattle Nice, that is also one of Erica's babies. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you, and I hope you put your hands together with a nice warm welcome, Erica C. Barnett.
Wow. I think that is like the best introduction I've ever gotten. So I feel hyped. Thank you for that. I want to just start out by going down the line of our panel and having each of you introduce yourself and share briefly, about a minute, about your organization and how you fit into the local resistance. So let's start with Ben, and we'll just go one by one.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben, and I see some familiar faces here. Really glad you all made it. So I work at Common Power as the general manager for our fieldwork department. What that means is that me and my team are responsible for identifying, recruiting, training, and then sending thousands of volunteers all across the country to swing states. We go there, we knock on doors, we talk to voters, and we win elections. We've been doing it since 2018, and this year we are all in for the midterms. We have been already, actually. So we had some of our volunteer teams just got back from the Texas Senate primary. What a win there for Tallarico. And then also from Chicago, which is where I'll be going this weekend for a U.S. House race. We have more primary elections lined up in this year, as well as a big push in the fall to over 20 states and maybe even over 50 elections. We'll see. So we're hoping to cultivate a community of volunteers that can sustain this work year after year and not just show out for the big places and the big, headline races. So to do that, we have an office downtown on 1st and Spring. Every Friday, we open it up to amplify existing organizations and groups to come in that do resistance work. Yeah, the Federal Building Friday people, that's right, the troublemakers. You can make signs there, you can help protest there, connect with other people there. And recently, we've been doing whistle factories. So you can come in, grab supplies, make your own whistle, etc. All right.
All right, I'm Lori Reinhardt. I'm co-director of Little West Seattle Indivisible. But next to everything that Common Power is doing, it feels like we're about 1,300 people. We've only been around since December of 2024, right after the election results were announced. And we have grown to, like I say, about 1,300-ish members, and we've got 3,500 online connections with people. And we do art, is what I like to say. We have a very talented team of film, which our film is being run today by Terry, and he's West Seattle Indivisible. We've got professional photographers that were working for the Seattle Times previously, now running our website, which we just got someone today to say, wow, you guys are really cool. Can you teach us how to do that? I have a bachelor's and a master's in fine art. There's other people in the group that have art background as well. We love to do actions. We do them loud and big and out there, and they tend to have an art focus. So we had 60 crowns for No Kings 2, and we now are going to have 150 We Are the People theme for our No Kings 3, which I'm also co-lead for with the coalition. And it's going to be fabulous. So it's going to be a really great visual. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Hello, I am Devin Hermanson, and I'm the founder of Defund Musk. We are part of the Tesla Takedown Coalition, kicked the shit out of Elon Musk for many months, and we are not done yet. In 1 quarter, we helped drop that profit for Tesla 71%. 71%. The stock will follow. Reality eventually will catch up to Elon Musk and all the other billionaires. So we currently run about 10 protests a week. That's from Tacoma to Linwood. And we're branching out in a lot of different ways. You may have seen our handmaids roaming Seattle. We do a lot of creative things like that. We have Fun Force on the way, which is a music and drums and costume-oriented thing. We're trying to bring satire and humor into this, but it's all about growing community in many different ways, training that community, and then deploying them to hit billionaires in the wallet. So our big project right now is a general strike. We just launched the site. It's kind of in beta, but you should check it out. It's seattlestrike.org. It's part of a national network. The main site is usastrike.net. And we think that's going to be really important because when it comes down to it, we know what we always say, right? Who's going to save us? We are. And when our institutions fail us and Trump comes for our elections in the midterms, we will be ready with a forceful, peaceful response, and we will shut it down if we have to. So that's what we're working on. We'd love to have you with us.
Thank you very much. My name is Kenny Austin. I'm the founder and chair of the 34th Dems Nonviolent Resistance Committee. Our mission is to research, plan, and lead a local, democratic, nonviolent resistance that protects our liberties, our communities, and our democracy. The way we do that is we identify threats we're concerned about. Then we do the research. What have other people done to confront those threats? What worked? What did not work? What would work here? A few examples of what we've done is we did some legislative advocacy. We were down in Olympia advocating for a number of bills to strengthen our rights when they come here. 2 of those are on path to pass this week. Very exciting. We've also put together simple 3 do's, 3 don'ts advisories. If you see somebody being hurt by ICE, what are 3 simple do's, 3 simple don'ts? You will start seeing those in Washington whistle packets and at Common Power in the very near future. Very excited about that. And another thing we're launching, kind of soft launching this week, is a fundraising partnership with a group called For Tomorrow. This came from the question, how can we get money to families that are impacted by ICE? For Tomorrow is an existing organization. If you'll find a handout in all of your seats about it. If you donate to them, it will get to a family in King County that was impacted by ICE and needs aid with groceries, rent, reunification flights, you name it. So those are some examples of the things we're doing. We hope you'll join us too. And it's great to have so many great people on the stage with me tonight. Thanks.
Devin set the tone for me that I want to share. We at Endelon, we say, solo el pueblo salva el pueblo. Maybe you've heard that, which means only the people will save the people. I'm Emily Gaja. I work for the National Day Labor Organizing Network. We're proud to have over 75 member organizations throughout the nation who are also working with migrant, day labor, and low-wage worker populations. We work to advance the rights of day laborers and immigrant workers, and build leadership among those who are facing injustice, so that, because we know as they defend their rights and challenge inequality, that they're building civil, labor, and political rights for all of us. We really do believe that power is built from the ground up, and that as we stand now with our immigrant neighbors and defend their rights, we're defending democracy and defending the rights for all. Our work is usually, historically it is still very grassroots, and has been based in the immigrant community. But last year, when the Trump administration took to militia masked forces to Home Depots in Los Angeles, we knew it was time to call on community and allies and people who are not vulnerable at deportation to join our movement. Always have been welcome, but there haven't been specific calls to action necessarily. So last June, we launched a project called Adopt a Corner, where we are asking people to show up at day labor corners and any other areas where people are gathered and get to know your neighbors, form community, bring know your rights information, stand. People are showing up, defending themselves, defending each other, defending community, and again, defending democracy. In our area, we have, I can't remember how many corners we have now because it's grown so much, but we have from Everett, Linwood, through Tacoma, Federal Way, all of our day labor sites are covered in Seattle. And we're growing and expanding, and we launched to schools a couple months ago. So we need more people. We need people like you who say, I want to join. I want to literally stand outside and be with my neighbors. Beautiful things are coming out of this project. Hopefully I'll have a chance in one of the questions to talk more about it, but so I don't take up too much time. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you all. I wanted to start by asking something that I am just sort of selfishly curious about as a journalist. The whistle kits, I have them at my home. They're, my partner works in the library. They're everywhere. And I just wanted to ask all of you, what is the sort of larger goal? What can we do, with whistle kits? Are we all in favor of whistle kits? I don't know if there's some difference of opinion on this panel, but can you talk a little bit about how they can be like a gateway drug to greater activism?
I'd love to hear what y'all took away from Minneapolis. Oh. There you go.
Whistles. There's been a lot of discussion around whistles lately, and both Ben and I had the great opportunity to join the delegation that went to Minneapolis with Common Power. We were there day 60 to 65 of Metro Surge, and it started to, quote, change around day 80. So we were there when people were absolutely friggin' exhausted and got up and did it again the next day. What we learned was incredible. And at the same time that Wason came out with a suggestion around whistles, we asked the people there on the ground what they thought. And one of the people who I call a chaser, they themselves call themselves commuters. They're the people that are actually tracking where ICE is on the street that day and chase them down, if you will, and just follow what their activity is and pass the information along to get the people on the ground to do the action that needs to happen. We asked one of these guys that came into a way station to pick up supplies and to just warm up, to say, what do you think about whistles? And his response was, if we're not there with whistles to let allies and people that aren't vulnerable to know, if we're not there to let people know to come out and to be there in mass, to be able to video what's going on, they just got somebody for free. That's my opinion on whistles.
Thanks, Lori. And to your question about how whistles can be a gateway drug to activism, that's definitely the case. And I think there's many of you out here who have handed someone a whistle kit and they're like, thank you, what else can I do, right? And then your next response is, come make more whistle kits with me. And now you suddenly have someone who's like coming to your gathering every week and you're getting to know them and you're getting to know what their risk tolerance is. And then you're like, oh, you live on 85th? There's a corner that we can, that's around the corner from 85th that we should maybe use where we can use our whistles, right? So I think so much of what we have here is we actually have too many options for people to do something, actually. Like you can Google, I'm scared, what do I do? Like activism, Seattle, and then boom, like where do I start? But if you give someone a concrete action and they're like, start here, start with defending yourself and the people around you, and then moving on to the next big commitment, the next step, the next thing on your schedule, that's how you get people to become more engaged over time. Yeah. Anything to add there?
Well, I think that we're based in Los Angeles, and we believe whistles work because they've worked in Los Angeles. So I think, and we've seen them work in Chicago, we've seen them work in Minneapolis. So that's our lived experience. I'm in Seattle. We haven't had the same kind of activity as they had in these cities, and so maybe that's why there's so much confusion up here. But what we're learning from our siblings in these other cities is that they're working. So I'll just add that.
One shout out I'll give real quick. All the whistle kits that are on your chairs came from Common Power. So shout out to the whistle making parties at Common Power.
And I'll just add, I love it because people who are just getting into it, a lady I work out with in the morning who's 78 years old, she came to me and she said, Emily, I'm just learning about this, but I got my whistle. And I'm getting more for the women in my Bible study group. And I just, it is a gateway. It's a point of connection. And I thought that was beautiful.
If I can add something, when we were winding down our trip in Minneapolis, I opened up my phone the night before I left and posted on a Facebook group was a woman who had gone out that morning for a morning run. It was early in the morning, about 6 o'clock here in West Seattle on California Avenue Southwest. And she observed an abduction and didn't know what to do. So she came home and posted on Facebook. At least she did something with it. And I'm standing there going, if you had a whistle, if you had your phone with you, if we're trained in that way, much like analogous to CPR, how many people have had CPR training? Okay, you have a sense of what to do if you come across something. The same is true for what I call constitutional observing training, that if you have a basic sense of what to do, you'll always be prepared and be there and be ready, you know, and that is huge.
I'm curious did anyone else on this panel go to Minneapolis? Okay. I wanted to make sure everybody had an opportunity to talk about their experiences there. So, you know, living in Washington State, as some of you mentioned, I mean, it can feel like we're a little remote from what's happening in places like Minneapolis and Los Angeles. And, you know, and it is difficult to know what to do. And so I'm just wondering, do you have any other advice, you know, for people who are interested in getting engaged in projects that are directly benefiting people who are being targeted by the administration? You know, I see people raising signs by my house every single Friday and Saturday. So, you know, can you talk a little bit more? I mean, obviously, people in this room are probably pretty engaged, but I'm just curious for maybe people that are watching online, you know, seeing this later. What are some other sort of first step activities that people can do to feel like they're helping in some concrete way?
Well, I guess we're talking about gateway actions in some ways. I mean, there's so many people. So, like I said, we're part of a network, a coalition of groups that put on the Tesla takedown, and so many times. I mean, it's been over a year. We just celebrated the anniversary of our first action at U Village and also then at Linwood and at all these different locations. And sometimes it's just like, oh, are we doing anything? You know, and you get the snarky kind of comments on Facebook or social media or articles, you know, critiquing No Kings, right? Like, what is it really doing? And it's doing so much because I'm the guy who gets the emails. And I run all of our email programs, and you know I get them all the time, and it's, you know, there's almost always kind of the same. It's, wow, you know, I haven't come out yet, and I've been kind of quiet, but I drive by and I see you. I see all of you out there with your signs every week, and it gives me hope. And sometimes those people come and they stand next to us with their signs, and it's beautiful. So that's what it's about. It's about building that community. It's giving somebody a chance to kind of come into that community and welcoming them. And because we're so consistent, and frankly, we've been doing it a while, when something happens, like what happened to Renee Good and these others, within really minutes, we can convert 10 protests that are coming in the following days to that theme and invite people to come express themselves. And Jimmy Kimmel, of course. Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel, in 24 hours, we launched suckitsinclair.com. And I know it's fun to say, right? That got some national attention because it's so fun to say, but it was a website that obviously focused on what they had done with Kimmel. And we had organized a major protest at Como. We had a phone bank up. All this was basically within 24 hours, a phone bank up calling advertisers. We moved fast because that's kind of our culture that we built from Defund Musk and our partners. So all of that, it gives people entryways. When something's happening, they know that we're there and we can give them that entree to express whatever's going on right now. They're pissed or they're hurt. I call this is the age of heartbreak. We are heartbroken every day. Family, friends, our country break our heart. That's got to be why you're here. I mean, that's why we care so much. We have big hearts and we care about what's going on. This is a really, really hard time to be someone who gives a shit. So we have these protests where people can come together and be together and feel those feelings and just express them and do something positive with them. So I think that's the first step.
We're going to fight over the microphone.
We're working on a speaking order. I think I'll go a different track here and speak more on the individual level because of obviously, all of you are here. To your point, you're here because you may have already started doing something or you're trying to bring something back to the people in your lives that might need a little bit more of a kick in the ass. And I think I just want to reiterate that it's not hard to find something to do. The hard part is actually doing it, right? The barriers to volunteering is not lack of information, is how do I pick the best one for my availability, for my risk, comfortability, for what's convenient around where I live or where I work or where my children goes to school, and like what can I do that's beginner level, and not immediately jump to intermediate or advanced. And I think you all are part of that infrastructure where you're telling people, don't go to rapid response. That's crazy. You should start with learning how to make a whistle, or you're like, yeah, come to a protest with me, see what the vibe is, and we'll go from there. But I also think is another conversation that we should have too, where, this is the 10th year of us in this mess, right? It started back in like 2015, 2016, I'm 28 this year. I would have graduated high school when this all started. And if there are people looking around their lives and they're like, what is going on? What should I do next? Then there's already so many things that have happened in the last decade that could have pushed them. And probably the only thing that's stopping them is themselves. So perhaps a different tack that we can take is maybe don't go for I want to save democracy. Maybe go for, hey, I really care about this cafe or this restaurant that's by my neighborhood because there's immigrant workers in the back. I know that. And I know that's going to be a target. So maybe what I need to do is to sign up for a business canvassing organization that talks to businesses about what to do in these situations. Or maybe I'm a parent. My kid goes to school, they hear about other kids with their parents being abducted or accosted. Maybe I need to do something, show up to PTA, right? Don't start from how do I change this country? Start with where are the spaces in my life that is touched by this problem? Because if you don't see it in your life, that means you haven't looked hard enough. So start there. It's there.
Yeah. Two little things that I'd like to add to this conversation. And one is I see friends of mine that I call on the couch, people that are politically aligned, but they haven't motivated, they haven't moved to do something. I also see their despair, and I see how downtrodden they are and how they're just awash with the constant flood of what we're getting every day. And the people that I interact with, like these people here, you don't have to be all in like we are. You don't have to. But I don't see that despair among the people that are in the movement. We are joyful, we are happy, we are engaged, and because we are with one another and united on a very hyper-local level, a regional level, or a national level, I personally don't experience that same level of despair. So one of the things that we say, a little thing that's easy to remember, is you either move your body or you move your money. And that's a great entry level for anybody. Because if you move your body, it means you're dialing a phone and making a phone call. Or you're putting your body in a position where you may stop an abduction. Okay, there's a range there. If you wish to stay home, move your money. And you can choose where to put that money. And Kenny has given us an opportunity tonight on your seats of where you can move money. So those are really entry levels, and then you can take it as far as you wish. Thank you.
So first I'll say we are an organization that nonviolence is one of our principles. But I remember in the first Trump administration, our director said to me, there's a lot of people out there with good hearts, but what will it take for people to have rebellious hearts? And that has come up for me over and over this year, because there are a lot of opportunities for us to do things, and it's scary for people. No one wants their identity revealed. People are afraid. We're watching authoritarian takeover happen in our country. Many of us have never seen something like this before. I haven't. I'm very lucky to have leaders who come from countries they've lived through these things, so they can say to me, we're gonna make it. And they know what to do. They have the experience of their ancestors. But the one thing that we always come home to is we have to build community, and we have to build connection. And even if that requires being a little bit rebellious. And so I've been gently trying to share this with people, because I know I can't ask anybody to do something that feels out of their comfort zone, but I think everyone has to find what's their line. And again, I'm not asking people to go throw bricks through a window or something like that, which is some people's way of activism. That's not what we're promoting. But maybe that means you'll take the risk of being a leader of one of these corners, or maybe you'll notice there's a park and ride in your neighborhood where immigrants gather in the morning, and maybe you feel afraid to be the person who puts their name out there in your community to say, I'm going to organize volunteers to be there every morning so that these raids stop. And because this was happening in the south of the county, taking that risk and saying, I'm gonna do this. It feels scary. I feel scared all the time. I have 4 kids, and I'm our breadwinner in my family. And it's just waking up and being like, you have 2 options, right? And I think encouraging other people too, like, it's okay to feel afraid right now, because we're seeing things many of us have never seen before, but we need each other. We have each other. And these opportunities, like Lori's saying, to connect with community is so key right now. And so I just also, the last thing I'll say is just, with the immigrant community, I'm trying to tell people, like, you don't just have to adopt a corner. Like, do you have an immigrant on your block? Stop by, introduce yourself, say, I don't know you, but I'm worried about what's going on, and here's my phone number. Like, build those connections that typically maybe we would feel kind of like, ooh, awkward, different worlds, different language. Like, this is the moment for us to know each other. And so I really think it doesn't have to be organized. It can be mutual aid. It can be offering to babysit for somebody who needs support. It can be supporting leaders who are exhausted. My friends just gifted me a spa certificate for a spa in West Seattle, and I cried for 10 minutes, but it really meant a lot to me, So all of those things are, last thing I'll say is I feel like we're up against, like, if you believe in good and evil, or I don't know, it feels like so many acts of evilness. And I just keep thinking, like, what we talk a lot about at Endelon, like 1 million acts of love and kindness. Like, what is going to be your act of love and kindness today? And sort of, what if we bring a wave of love and kindness, which many of you, I think, are already doing, which is why you're here. But being really conscious of that, like, what is our act of love and kindness, and how that contributes to a bigger movement.
I think that was great. If there's one thing I'd add, it's just it was alluded to before, there are some naysayers who are like, what does a march do to help people? It shows you care about them. It shows you support them. You know, when there's 100,000 people out in the street saying we're here for our immigrant community and we support our immigrant community, that's a powerful message that helps people who are afraid to know that there are people out there who have their back. And so that there is a powerful impact of that.
I just got to piggyback on that. We knew we were making a big impact when Elon Musk started lying about us and attacking us every week. You know, I mean, that must mean something, these protests. And of course, that just got us more excited.
Yeah. And the love and kindness does show up on those streets when you're out in line marching. And what you get back, I love overpass work. And that's actually my favorite thing to do. And we have a little pedestrian overpass going into West Seattle on Andover and Fauntleroy. If you know where it is, you know where it is. I get so much joy out of waving to people. We have our signs and people wave, they honk, peace signs, this and that, and get eye contact with them. We give, and I get so much back. And it's we can feel it. People are there and they're together. So I was going to say something else, but I forgot.
I appreciate the antidote to cynicism that you're all bringing. That's just really great to hear that, you know, you're giving something and you're getting something back from it too. I want to talk about the midterms. I don't know what Trump's position is today. I was busy, but he was saying that he's gonna they're not going to happen, or the Republicans are going to control them. So I guess that's the current plan. What can people do to make sure these midterms are secure, that people can vote, and get involved? And how can we help the Democrats take back the House and Senate? If that's not too much to ask. Okay, you can stick to the first part of the question.
I guess I start, right?
Common power, you go.
There were a lot of questions in there, and then I think I'll zero in on this, which I think might answer all three. Is that I don't think the work to protect our elections happens in Washington necessarily. When we're talking about how can you all in this room and the people you know help secure elections, right? It would be going to states to actually help secure elections for the people who are constantly under voter suppression or under intimidation at the polls, or like deliberate mis and disinformation about where and when to vote. So that's part of the work that we do. So step one is to go out there, get a voter in a swing state or a state that's actively under voter suppression and be like, hey, this is the correct information about how to vote. Don't believe what you saw there. No, this is the single source of truth, right? Or you want to double check your registration. You want to bring these documents or they'll turn you away, right? None of those tactics happen here in Washington. So even if you were to go out and do your thing, maybe in Eastern Washington, maybe in like Southern Washington, maybe there's a little bit of this here and there, but not at the intentional scale that you would find in Texas or Georgia or Pennsylvania. So step one, leave, go to a different state and do work in another state. If you're thinking about a federal level, then your thinking has to be on that level too. The other thing is, this is something that we are actively thinking about and working with our partners on the ground for, is that because every single state has a different election law packet, you know, like some states you can't do anything within 250 feet. Some states you can't even register anyone to vote. Like you can't do it for them. They have to do it themselves, and you can help in these specific ways. Some states, here are the IDs. Some states don't allow you to early vote. There is so many convoluted laws specific to a location that has actually made it very hard to have a national response to election suppression. So part of what we do and where we're uniquely positioned is that we have developed relationships in each one of these states with partners on the ground, either with Democratic parties or local organizations that have been doing grassroots work for a very long time. And so part of the game plan, as we're going to work with these people, is that who do you want us to help you elect to win in the midterm so that we can flip the House and the Senate? And also, how do you want us to help you actually get people to the polls to work around these laws? Do you need us to come 2 months early to educate people about voting laws? Do you need us to be there in troves on Sunday, so that, which is the last day of early voting, and get people to the polls? Do you need us to turn out drivers on Tuesday to drive people to the polls on election day? Do you need us to be trained in poll watching and poll observing so that we can boost your presence at the polls themselves? What do you need us to do? We'll give the full package. And that's an option that we've been exploring more this year, whereas traditionally we've just been door knockers. But the times have changed, and I think our volunteer force needs to have to adapt to that as well. Okay.
You go and then
I can?
Yeah,
Sure.
if you like, yeah.
I will. So Defund Musk is working on a lot of different levels, and we hope to be partnering with Field Team 6 and Common Power and adopting a Senate race and a representative race. So there's a lot of different levels that we're working at. But again, we are focused on what happens if Trump just decides to ignore the outcome of the elections or something crazy. We have to allow for an X factor, right? So we're going to be doing all this scenario planning. So we're going to be trying to prepare for different things that could happen. But as inanely, just really crazily stupid as Donald Trump is, he is a genius at criming. I mean, that's the one thing. He's just so focused on it. If he could have like focused on anything positive in his life, who knows what could have happened. But this is his lot, and our lot is to try to stop him. And when I talk to people, there's a concept of expected value, right? Which is the probability something's going to happen times the value of that gives you the expected value. Well, what is the probability that Donald Trump is going to try to steal this election? It is 100%. What is the value of our democracy if we lose it? It is infinite. So it would be criminal for us not to prepare for that eventuality. So that's what we're going to be doing. We have to be allowed for an X factor. He's going to do something we can't even think of. I follow Mark Elias religiously. If you don't follow him, I really suggest you do. He paints an amazing picture. He is the leading lawyer who has been fighting all these cases, who defeated Trump last time around. I don't know how many times, but a zillion, exactly 1 zillion times. And he's a genius. You know, look up to his podcast, his Democracy Docket, and he just spells it out. The guy knows his stuff, and we're going to be following that and preparing. But the ultimate power is that we have is economic. And the general strike concept that we're working on, I think, is one solution to that. Doesn't have to be our solution. There's other people working on similar things, but we recognize that ultimately, if we shut down this country, we hurt the billionaires, that's when things change. You can see right now, when the stock market gets affected, that's when Trump cares about things. That's when he stops doing what he's doing or starts making noise about maybe war in Iran isn't such a great idea. It's all about money. So we're going to be organized. We're going to be doing the work, the hard work to really have deep relationships and communities and form those communities. I wish I got to find out who said this because it was brilliant. But someone said, we're not going to meme our way to a general strike. That is spot on. How many times have you seen it kind of the call go out on social media? Let's strike. Well, you're skipping a few steps, like a lot of really hard steps. And that's what Minnesota had going for them. They'd been through the Rodney King situation. They've been through a lot of pain together. And they come together and done the work of forming coalitions, deep, deep community. And that's what we're going to be doing and focusing on. So we'll be ready when he tries to screw with our elections.
I think Ben is right when she says that in Washington state, we may be in a better situation than other vulnerable states. At the same time, I'm looking at that friggin' SAVE Act. How many people have heard about that, right? So let's take a moment to just look at your own family. We have 4 people in our family. If that were to pass today, 2 of us would not be able to vote. That's because I have a trans son and I have a married last name. So I've already have a petition in and have paid to change my name back to my birth name so that my IDs match my birth certificate. So I have that in place for the minute it drops. I'll be the first in line to actually change it because I've already put the application in. but I haven't done it yet because it's going to mess with my Social Security. But I'll deal with that if I need to. For my trans son, it's a different issue. And what we have to do is and my trans son was also born in Russia. So it's a whole different process to get a birth certificate to match. And that's a much longer, more difficult process. But I encourage people to go internally to your own family and see who would be impacted by things like that, and then start moving out from there. Thanks.
If I had one thought on in Washington, we're probably fine, is I do recall in a recent election when Joe Kent was campaigning down South Washington, I believe someone put a firebomb in a ballot drop box, burned a lot of ballots. So I do have some concerns about our state, and it's one thing we're trying to workshop right now and research, like, what can we do? It's something we're actively trying to think about.
Can I add one more thought to that? I think if you can't, go out of state to door knock or do volunteer work or anything like that, right? Something that might be the through line here is that when we build community with our neighbors and we're trying to protect our neighbors from this or that, or we're trying to get to know each other, that protection extends to election day too, right? Like if you have a neighbor who's scared to go to the polls because they're afraid of law enforcement might be there to scoop them up or like harass them or whatever, then you're not going to stop being their neighbor. And those bonds won't go away. So the community, again, showing up to protect itself, to move them along is a part of that. And who's to say, right? Somebody drops a bomb in a post office box or like in a ballot drop box. We can watch that. Like we watch other corners, right? So I think the tactics that we are applying here to protect our community and our neighbors extend to this threat as well, which is why it's one of the most enduring form of fighting against authoritarianism, is to not be isolated and to build a separate structure that you can rely on that is not given to you by the government. So here. That's right.
That's great. I'm looking forward to adopt a Dropbox. That sounds pretty fun.
I appreciate that reminder about, sort of not becoming complacent, because I worked for a while at NARAL, which is the Abortion Rights Action League, or that's what it used to be called, until abortion was deemed, too controversial as a word. But that's what we heard all the time too, and it was very hard to get donations because Roe versus Wade is, that's the law of the land. We have it protected here in Washington State, and and now there are real ramifications of that on Washington State, even though abortion is legal here. So I think sort of on that note, I wanted to ask about the local and state level stuff that people can be doing. There's a lot of legislation happening at the state and also in Seattle at the local level to try to sort of quote unquote Trump proof the city or the state. And I'm curious, a lot of these things, you can sort of brush them aside and say supremacy clause, which I certainly have done myself enough. But this sort of state legislation and local legislation, is there anything to it? Like, are there things that people should be advocating for or, trying to make better at the state and local level?
I think any right or protection that you want to have, you should fight for it. And there may be people who tell you it's hopeless, don't try, but that's what they said about a millionaire's tax for decades here, and we're about to have one. So if you're not willing to have the fight, you lost already. Just fight for the rights that you want, identify them, identify who's fighting for those, and get on board.
That's right. If you didn't catch that, Howard Schultz left for Florida. That's what she was saying there.
Bye-bye, Howard.
Bye-bye, Howard. We will not miss Howard. I'm on board with that.
Anybody else want to take that one?
Can you say the question one more time?
Yeah, I guess the question is, is there anything, at the local, and is there anything that seems to be, more or less effective as far as local and state legislation goes?
Washington State, in many ways, is very lucky because we have we do not have a 287G agreement. That is the agreement that couples local law enforcement with ICE. In a lot of states that happens, and it creates a mass army for deportations, for mass deportations. But we do need to hold our law enforcement accountable in all parts of the state. I know in Seattle we're having what appears to be the police chief and people being aligned, and the mayor demanding certain things aligned with that. But there have been reports in other parts of the state of sheriffs working in conjunction with ICE, and we actually are a state that is illegal. So those policies, we know, slow down the deportation machine. We do not want people being held in jails so that ICE can show up and get them, and all of these types of sanctuary policies that have been put intact, particularly in the first administration, they do slow it down. Are people still deported? Yes, but we do want to make sure that as if you hear things like that happening, that we know that the uncoupling of law enforcement and ICE is key to not creating, it slows the cogs down, I guess, of the deportation machine.
All right, so I guess as we kind of wind down here, I wanted to just end on a somewhat positive note and just ask, what is currently giving you hope in your work in this movement, and if you want to shout out the work of other organizations who aren't represented here that are doing great work, feel free, don't feel obligated. And whoever wants to take that first. What's giving you hope?
Gosh, I guess I'll do it. You go for it.
Or do you have something to say?
I just listened to a podcast by a guy who is ex-MAGA. He has this whole ex-MAGA.org thing out there for people who are deconstructing.
All right, I love it. So what she's saying is that there's a site out there that's tracking ex-MAGA, I guess, their conversions to reality. So that is very awesome. That would also give me hope. Well, yeah. Joe Rogan, you think is he converting to reality? I heard murmurs. He's very reality resistant. I don't know. We see how far that goes, but yeah, I've heard some of that too. Yeah. So for me, we were just talking a little bit ago, and to me, I mean, I'm sort of surrounded by heroes. We're absolutely surrounded by heroes. A couple assholes, mostly surrounded by heroes every day. And this is something that makes me feel great. I had my first protest. The first protest I ever organized was a year ago. And yeah, and I was absolutely freaking terrified. I had no idea what I was doing. Zero. I knew I had I just looked actually, looking back, it was at U Village. There's 260 some people had registered for that. And many, many times that came. And all the kind of people who support me in my life didn't come that day. So I was just me and my brand new, gleaming, perfect megaphone that had never been outside before. And I'm just like, okay, here I go. And I wasn't sure. I was more afraid that people would show up or that they wouldn't. But I get down there, and it was just so amazing because I'll tell you, I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't have a great idea what I'm doing. But it didn't matter because there are so many amazing heroes down there. That's where I first met the troublemakers. They had a protest turn out the same day. It was beginning an hour earlier before the one I had planned. And we turned out a shit ton of people, not because I know what I'm doing, but because I had reached out to the right people, and Seattle Indivisible and Wallingford Indivisible and all these other groups came down and supported that action. And while I was down there, I just met all kinds of people who just filled in all the many gaps in my knowledge and made that thing successful. I organized it. I didn't make it work. The community did. And that's what gives me hope, because this community holds each other up and supports each other and makes these things happen, and is beautiful. So now I know a little more than I did then, and I'm in a really great group that really has begun to feel like a family, and it makes me so happy all the time. And one of the things that really gives me hope is I've seen, and we did this intentionally, there's a point where I took a major step back and watched all these young people, people of all ages really, move forward and take leadership of our organization as we grew. And I've seen them blossom and do incredible things. Our handmaids group is a great example of that, where it was really just an idea like, well, we should do something like this. And these women just went off and made it happen and did beautiful, amazing things that inspired so many people. So yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 reasons around us to feel hopeful and a bunch of reasons to feel really shitty. So we can pick which ones we're going to focus on, and we can decide to do something. That's what gives me hope, is doing. So there's lots of good stuff coming.
Oh gosh, there's a lot. There's a lot, of course, that gives me hope. I think one of the things that gives me the most joy and then hope is to watch large mobilizations actualize. We've had Hands Off, and we've had No Kings 1, 2, and we're now planning for No Kings 3. Each time the numbers have grown. I was there on the ground on all 3 of them, and I plan to be there again. And we went from 25,000 at Seattle Center for Hands Off to most recently the numbers came in. I'm going to be very conservative and say they were about 80,000. We're now looking to go to like 120,000. And when you stand next to someone and all you can see is heads, this direction, this direction, this direction, and this direction, and you're talking to one another. Never met before, but you're talking to one another, and everybody's got a common vernacular and a common position and perspective on the world today. And you can just stand there and feel it. That gives me hope.
I think what I'd say is anytime I'm in community, it gives me hope. You know, if you go to a whistle-making party at Common Power, you will walk out thinking, how do we lose? This is electric. This is wild. That gives me hope. Seeing that we keep winning gives me hope. Every special election you see, win, 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 win. That gives me hope. And the fact that Trump's trying so hard to stop us from voting, it tells me he's afraid of us. This is a guy who's rolling in bed every night, scared of you and your vote, and knowing that you're going to kick him out of office, you're going to take away his majorities. He is afraid of you, and that gives me hope. So these are the things that give me hope.
To speak to that, what happened after No Kings 2? What happened immediately after that? He tore down the East Wing. He was scared of us. He did not like that many people came out against him. So he took part of our house away.
So I was at a canvassing training for neighborhood leads on Saturday, and we were in a room full of people from all over Seattle learning how to talk to a stranger in their neighborhood and try to get them to see if they would support them in this effort or not. And I was in that training, and I just saw people work their way through Seattle ICE and NICE at the same time. Like it was like the, how do I introduce myself? You know, like what do I do? I only talk to people I know. How do I knock on the door? Is it awkward if I stay too close? How do I tell people about an ask? How do I be persistent about my ask? If someone tells me no, I'm gonna walk away. That's how you do it, right? No. So I just see this room full of young people, new people, people who actually haven't lived in the city for very long, right? The majority of our city are renters. They come here for school or work for other reason, and they found a reason to call it home, and they want to defend it. So they're working their way through their nervousness, their fear, their weaknesses that they know that they're not good at, simply because they know that they have to be better. And that's when I feel like I was filled with hope, because somehow all of the shittiness has made us be the best versions of ourselves for an extended period of time. and somehow I feel like after this is all, I don't know if it's going to be over, but like it will lessen, because that's the fight we're trying to fight, right? That we remember the practice of being the best versions of ourselves, to us, to our community, to our neighbors, that the things that we do, today won't be forgotten very easily. So that gives me a lot of hope. Yeah.
We excuse me, Endelon's been doing an ice out campaign for over a decade. And so if somebody would have asked me a year ago if I would believe that we would have seen what we saw a couple of weeks ago when people were in the streets yelling ice out for good. I think all of us who've been at our organization, I work with lifelongers who are like lifelong immigrant rights advocates, and all of us were just dumbfounded. There was many tears shed. It was, if anyone would have ever asked me that people would be in the streets, really seeing the problem with ICE, being aware of it, and because 5 years ago that was not there, 4 years ago that was not there. So that gives me, the conscientization that's happening gives me hope. The same, unfortunately, the day laborers are being persecuted at a level we've never seen before. But we've never seen this amount of solidarity. And I started working at a day labor center 20 years ago, and it transformed my life. And I will forever be honored and indebted to that community for the way that it transformed me personally, spiritually, etc. But to see all of these volunteers in our community having that same experience that I had 20 and continue to have by being in community with these workers, that gives me so much hope. I wake up every morning to the Signal chats that I'm in from all the corners, and it's like, on my way, I've got a carafe of coffee and warm burritos. Are you going to be there, John? I mean, I don't know, some of you guys I recognize, and you're in these chats too. It's like, I've started taking screenshots of them, and I don't know what to do with it, but I was like, we are good. Humans are good. People care. And day laborers, historically, like some of the workers are homeless. Some of them don't have teeth. Some of them have stories that are hard to listen to. And people are still showing up, and they're still, it's not like, we work with domestic workers too, and domestic workers, people are behind all the time. It's a different population. It's women, it's people, it's mothers. People are like, oh yes. And it's different when it's a single man who has had a hard life maybe, you know, and but people are breaking through their prejudices, their boundaries, and creating community and realizing these workers have amazing skills and stories and things to share with us. And I love that. And I actually having that, I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world right now for my job. I really do. I've been doing this work for over 20 years, and I've never been so honored to be in the position I am right now. So I invite you all to look me up and join our movement. And the last thing I really want to say that I didn't get to say is that another way of active solidarity is by hiring a day laborer or hiring a domestic worker. There is not enough work right now. People are not only facing the fear of deportation, they don't have enough money to pay their bills. And all of our mutual aid right now is going to deportation cases. So historically, if somebody was in a hard situation, I could do a GoFundMe, get money for them. And that's not there now. It's all going, rightfully so, to families who's losing a father to be deportation. And so hire workers. If you're afraid to go to the day labor corner and do it, I will talk you through how to do it. One of our amazing day labor volunteers can help you. Casa Latina also has workers. They have new leadership coming on. We're going to need to support them and support that new leader. I'm excited about her. So those are all the things. I could talk forever.
That was great.
There are day laborers in West Seattle that I see increasing in number, like the Home Depot or the parking lot. So how can you hire those and not be fearful of, like there's a police station right next door, and we have no idea, that station has people that used to be aligned with ICE type thinking in it. So how can we know that we're not going to be in trouble? If we take them somewhere to do a project, well, for the sole purpose of even making up a project, so you give them money.
Real quick, I'll repeat the question, and then we'll have to end because the 34th Dems meeting is supposed to start soon, so this will be the last question. You can talk to any of us after we split, though, in the audience. But I guess you can repeat the question and give the answer.
The question is, like in West Seattle, there's the Home Depot corner there, and the question is, there's a police station right next door, how do we not get in trouble for hiring a worker? Well, the good news is that it's not illegal to hire day labor. Yeah, and it's not illegal for workers to wait on the street. We fought that in the early 2000s, and it is a legal right to look for work in a public space. So they aren't committing a crime and we aren't committing a crime by hiring them. After you reach a certain threshold of how much money you pay an individual, then you enter into a tax situation where you have to get a contract, like a, what's that called? 1099 for them, etc. But that's a whole other story. If you hire someone for a day of labor, everybody's legit. Yeah. And there's a wonderful group. Are any of you guys in the West Seattle Adopt a Corner? We have a wonderful group in West Seattle doing work there. So that's a good question.
Can you raise your hand higher?
I will help you find it right now. Of course, did I bring any of my materials? No, I forgot them, but I can show you. We're on Mobilize. You can sign up for any of the corners on Mobilize. You can find the link to that on our website, endelon.org. But I can also, if you're interested, just show you right now on my phone. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think we're wrapping up. So thank you to our panel. You guys have been awesome and inspiring. And yeah, let's give them a round of applause.